Welcome, everybody, to the 9th edition of the Geneva Health Forum. I'm Ariane Alcorta.
And my name is Olivia Chang, and together we'll be hosting this event over the next 3 days and guiding you as we try to unpack some of the most pressing global health issues.
2 years have passed since COVID-19 was declared a pandemic, and a lot has passed since. Together, we're finally able to gather in person.
It's certainly a very different picture to 2 years ago when we had the Geneva Health Forum last time. As many of you might remember, that was a digital event, and this time we get to welcome not only people online from around the world tuning in, but also people here under one roof here in Geneva.
That's right, so sit tight because we do have a packed schedule. We'll be listening from experts both on stage and as well as from the audience across in the back, sitting down in an interview style.
And Ariane, I know that it sounds like there's a lot on your plate already, so let's not waste any time. I'll let you take the floor with the first discussion, and to everyone else, I'll be back here in just a short moment for the very first panel.
Thank you, Olivia. So the following session will target the One Health approach. The 4 lead technical focal points of the Quadripartite organizations will be formally together for the very first time in a public forum. They will be addressing the inclusion of environmental factors in a One Health approach and ultimately addressing the question, One Health, is there a paradigm shift? So before we get to it, the 4 directors of the organizations comprising the One Health Quadripartite have sent their welcoming videos.
Colleagues, today's first plenary session of the Geneva Health Forum is an important step forward. As our world faces increased threats, the One Health approach is vital to ensure a collective and holistic response. If we do not take the action, these global challenges will have a devastating consequences on our planet, on our capacity to feed the world sustainably. We need a bold paradigm shift, embrace structural solutions with a strong emphasis on the upstream prevention. We need to rethink our relationship with our environment that connects us all and determines the health of people, planet, animals, and ecosystems. At FAO, we firmly believe that this paradigm shift is anchored in the transformation of world agri-food systems to make them more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable. This transformation promotes healthy ecosystems and inclusive socio-economic models, and is critical for achieving better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life for all, leaving no one behind. The One Health approach is the key to achieve this transformation, but we cannot do it alone. We need the collective combination of our knowledge, expertise, and innovative thinking. Together, we can unlock the transformative power of an ecosystem chain that will lead to health, social, economic, and environmental benefits. Considering that 60% of the emerging diseases are of animal origin, the One Health approach is essential for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response, as well as for the other important action tracks such as antimicrobial resistance and combating neglected disease, and they still affect many low and middle income countries. Over the past year, during the FAO chair of the Tripartite, substantial progress was made to enhance One Health collaboration, including the expansion of the Tripartite include UNEP as we advance our One Health work. An important milestone was also our jointly developed One Health Joint Plan of Action to collectively advocate and support the global implementation of One Health. This vision will set the course for a new era of the next 5 years for the synergetic, cross-cutting, multi-sectors One Health collaboration ready to respond to the evolving global health challenges. To ensure the sustainability of One Health actions at all levels and to extend our work to more countries, a holistic resource mobilization effort is required. We can achieve this through new funding sources, as well as building on existing joint mechanisms such as the Antimicrobial Resistant Multiple Partner Trust Fund and the recently launched FAO Agri-Food Systems and One Health Fund. Dear colleagues, the One Health approach is all about finding the optimal balance across the sectors and systems to make the best decision for safeguarding the health of human beings, animals, plants, and the environment. The insights and outcomes from today's first plenary session will further consolidate our joint vision to the mainstream of One Health. Let us continue to work together in an efficient, effective, and coherent manner. I look forward to our continued partnership, strengthen the commitment, and reinforce solidarity. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, One Health was only a concept a few years ago. One Health is today a working approach. One Health must become a reality in our daily lives because the extension of grazing areas onto the wilderness environment and the subsequent risk of emergence of new pathogens, as well as climate change and the geographical extension of vector-borne diseases or food production losses due to animal diseases, are not concepts, but daily concerns of millions of people. Over the past years, the World Organization for Animal Health built robust partnerships with WHO and FAO within the Tripartite that allow us to work in a coordinated way for the benefits of our member countries. Our joint action plan to fight antimicrobial resistance is one of the concrete and successful results. Recently, UNEP joined our alliance for a more holistic consideration of health issues. In a few months, we have developed a joint plan of actions, but this will be impactful only if it is translated into operational actions on the field. For this, we need everyone's contribution, and I hope that this plan will inspire you on projects so that the political and financial support that accompany us finds a wider echo. I hope that the 2022 Geneva Health Forum will give us the opportunity to debate these issues, to identify ways of turning our ideas into reality, and to strengthen our partnerships to implement them. To succeed, everyone must move from words to action. Let's try to do it together.
Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at this, the 9th edition of the Geneva Health Forum. Reinventing global health in such unprecedented times is no easy ask, because we know that human health is synonymous with planetary health. Floods, droughts, heat waves, pollution, wildfires, pandemics. As the IPCC has made very, very clear just a few weeks ago, the catalogue of climate disasters continues to grow. And with each page that we turn in that catalogue, the impacts on human health are more and more severe. At a time when our planet is growing sicker and people and animals along with it, we at UNEP are proud to have joined the Quadripartite Alliance on Health, along with our partners, the WHO, the Organization on Animal Health, and the FAO. What is apparent to everyone involved in One Health is that no one sector can solve the many problems that we face alone. To secure human health and animal health and environment health is to secure the very future of this planet, and we need more collaboration and more partnerships. We at UNEP are deeply committed to a rights-based approach to One Health, because everyone has a right to a clean and healthy environment. UNEP is committed to prevention through the new €50 million Nature for Health Fund that we were proud to sign with Germany during the United Nations Environment Assembly. We will support upstream investments in nature so that we are able to restore nature's barriers and services and reduce the spread of disease. UNEP is committed to addressing the shared drivers of human, animal, and environmental health risks. and UNEP is committed to supporting the shifts to a more equitable and sustainable food system. As the newest member of the Quadripartite Alliance, but as an organization turning 50 this year and having therefore worked in this field for 50 years, we are ready to do our part. So I thank you, and I very much look forward to hearing about the outcomes of this important gathering.
Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the intimate links between the health of humans, animals, and our environment. Reducing the risk of future pandemics demands close coordination across sectors. For years, WHO has worked closely with the UN Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Organization for Animal Health as part of the One Health Tripartite. Earlier this year, we officially became a quadripartite with the welcome addition of the UN Environment Programme. Last year, our 4 organizations established the One Health High-Level Expert Panel to guide our joint work. WHO is honored to chair the quadripartite this year. We look forward to working with our partners to support countries to implement our One Health Joint Plan of Action. It's clear that a One Health approach must be central to our shared work to strengthen the world's defenses against epidemics and pandemics. That's why One Health is one of the guiding principles of the new international agreement for pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response, which WHO's member states are now negotiating. Thank you all for your continued partnership and support. I look forward to working with all of you for a healthier, safer, fairer, and more resilient world.
Please join me now and welcome Mr. Antoine Flahaut, the President of the Geneva Health Forum.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Antoine Flahaut, a medical epidemiologist at the Institute of Global Health, University of Geneva, and co-chair of this 9th edition of the Geneva Health Forum 2022. What a good news that we eventually succeeded to organize this edition on site. I would like also to welcome all those who are online today and attending, maybe contributing to save carbon by avoiding coming from too far away. We start this edition today, which is entirely dedicated to One Health and planetary health, to better define and understand what is One Health. This is probably the first time that we convened the very young Quadripartite Alliance in a public forum. WHO, FAO, OIE, UNEP. It is great. I wish all of you to enjoy a very successful and very promising 9th edition of the Geneva Health Forum 2022.
And now to begin with the first session, please welcome Keith Sumption from the Food and Agriculture Organization, Jean-Philippe Top, representing the World Organization for Animal Health, OIE, Lisa Crump, representing the UN Environment Program, and Peter Ben Embrecht from the World Health Organization. Please join me also at welcoming moderator Andrea Sylvia Winkler, Joint Director for the Center for Global Health in the Technical University in Munich, Founding Director of Center for Global Health at the Faculty of Medicine in the University of Oslo, and co-chair of the Lancet One Health Commission. Oh, before I forget, Because we're in Switzerland and timekeeping is characteristic of the region, we are aiming to be precise with each discussion to be able to remain on schedule. So I believe you still have about 45 minutes left. So your time starts now.
Thank you very much for these introductory words. It's a great pleasure for me today to introduce this very eminent and very timely panel. I've been a global health passionate for over 20 years, working in the global South and the global North. And today I'm representing the Lancet One Health Commission that I'm co-chairing together with my colleague and friend, Dr. John Amoesi from Ghana. Without further ado, I will just come to you, Keith, Dr. Keith Sumption. You represent the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. You have got such a great CV, but I've tried to reduce it. So Keith has worked on disease ecology at the interface of wildlife and domestic animals, as well as the environment, for more than 30 years, if that's correct, Keith. And for more than 17 years, he has worked on management of episodic diseases like foot and mouth disease at the Wildlife Domestic Interface as Secretary for the European Commission for the Control of Foot and Mouth Disease based at FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Since June, Keith, 2020, you have been, or you are, the Chief Veterinary Officer for FAO, and since July, the Director of FAO's Center for Zoonosis and Antimicrobial Resistance, and the leader of FAO's Animal Health Services. So what a CV. Very warm welcome, Keith. I'm now passing over and coming to Dr. Jean-Philippe Dopp. You present, Jean-Philippe, you present the World Organization for Animal Health, in short, OIE. So Dr. Jean-Philippe Dopp held several positions related to international cooperation and public health in the French administration before joining OIE in January 2016. Please correct me if I'm wrong with dates here. He is the Deputy Director General in charge of institutional affairs and regional activities, and as part of the responsibilities today, he's in charge of strategic partnerships related to One Health and transboundary animal disease. Welcome, Jean-Philippe. I'm coming now to the only lady on the panel. It's a great pleasure. Dr. Lisa Crump, you represent the UN Environment Program, short UNEP. So Dr. Lisa Crump is a veterinary epidemiologist with expertise conceptualizing One Health for research and development on zoonosis, antimicrobial resistance, and pandemic prevention. So those are your foci. She is now part also of the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, growing team of working on operationalization of One Health globally, but also at country level, if I'm not mistaken. Last but not least, my dear colleague from WHO, Dr. Peter Benham-Barek. He's the head of the World Health Organization One Health Initiative at its headquarters, which provides a strategic coordinated application of the One Health approach within the organization. Until recently, he was managing the WHO International Food Safety Authority Network, short InfoSAN, and the work on the SARS-CoV virus origin as part of WHO response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I think after this introduction, there's no more doubt that you know what to talk about. Let's see. So the name of our panel here is One Health, the paradigm shift. We know, of course, that One Health is not a new concept. It has been around for a very long time. Some say over 2,000 years. It has been around in ancient times already. And also we need to say that, and we need to acknowledge that for the last 150 to 200 years, this has been driven by the veterinary sector. Of late, One Health most likely has come of age. Since the early 2000s, we are addressing One Health issues even more together with foodborne diseases, AMR, antimicrobial resistance, and other epidemics and pandemics, of course, not the least the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are seeing this paradigm shift of One Health, and you are seeing this in your organizations. What does it mean for you? Please, 2 minutes. We'll have around 3 to 4 rounds, so 2 minutes each, and we start with WHO, and then UNEP, OIE, and FAO, so just in the order we are. Peter.
Thank you, and welcome everybody to this session. Yes, One Health has been around for a long time, but it's, we clearly see a paradigm shift now after the COVID pandemic. When we talk about One Health with colleagues and friends and so on, and explain what it is, everybody say, well, yeah, it's common sense. It makes sense to use a One Health approach. I think the big difference is when common sense invades or come into the political arena, that's where things are changing. And when we have heads of states and heads of governments talking about One Health, it's a paradigm shift for sure. And within WHO, and I think also in our partner organizations, the realization of that and the changes in our societies towards a more better understanding and willingness to integrate One Health in national policies has made us to also change our collaboration and the way we're working. So we're leading that changes as well. And within WHO, we have set up a One Health initiative, which is a new group to, within the organization, already breaks these silos that we have and that are a reflection of the silos we see in the national setup as well. So we will, and we hope that within our organization, at least, we are going to show how things should be done and change the way we are working together to better help our clients, our member states, and that will be in close collaboration, of course, with our Tripartite organization in the Quadripartite. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Lisa, please.
Thank you. Well, UNEP has long recognized that nature is the foundation of sustainable development. There are no healthy people without a healthy planet. So we're pleased to see that there is a greater global recognition of this across the sectors. But we are not naive, and we know that there's still a long way to go. Shifts in the way we understand and frame the problem are really only the first step. Changing the way we act and the way we work to operationalize One Health is what's needed. At UNEP, a One Health approach has already been instituted as part of their existing 4-year midterm strategy, which was approved by member states. And at the most recent UN Environment Assembly in March, 193 member states adopted a resolution on biodiversity and health that calls for increased investments in nature to prevent pandemics and also to employ strengthened environment dimensions of One Health, among other things. UNEP is ramping up its own efforts to expand the evidence and science to inform better policy and decision-making for implementing One Health. And this really is an essential practical measure. We have to take a systems-based approach. So we can't afford any guesswork here. We can't have knee-jerk policy responses that may have unintended consequences.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa. We'll just go on then with the OIE, please.
Yes, for OIE, One Health is not a new principle. In fact, when we look at the history, One Health started in the 19th century with Virchow in Germany, who discovered Trichinella spiralis, a parasite in the muscles, which is a zoonosis. But the change that we saw in the 2 last years, was already mentioned by my colleague from WHO, Peter, is more political awareness. Thanks to the pandemic, let's say it's a good effect of the pandemic, if a good effect can be, is that politicians, decision makers realize that One Health was not only a nice principle, but something we have really to implement on the field. That means be implemented by our members. OIE has 182 members, and the challenge for us is to support them to ensure good implementation of One Health. What changed for us? In fact, we realize that we have a key role to play with our partners of the Quadripartite, because as viruses know no border, international cooperation mustn't know borders. And it's the reason why the Quadripartite works on this field. But it's not only at the Quadripartite level, it's mainly at the members level that One Health has to be implemented. And for this, we had to reorganize ourselves. One Health means breaking silos between animal health, human health, environmental health. And we have to start with us, to break internal silos within our organizations. For this reason, within OIE, we decided to set up a new position of Global One Health Coordinator. Dr. Shadia Wanous, who is in the room, is the one in charge of this position. And we set up an internal One Health task force to push our different departments to work together through a transversal approach. And in particular, to support our members in terms of capacity building. We'll mention that later, but capacity building for us is one of the key elements of the new joint plan of action of the Quadripartite. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Jean-Philippe. Keith, last but not least, please, your statement.
Thank you very much. FAO has for a long time had a significant professional presence in delivering in areas of One Health, and like most professional disciplines, it's been separated rather by the foresters, the fisheries, animal health, plant health. Now, the big change, I think, now is to see that everything is needed together, because at the level of the producer, they're facing those things at the same time. And so for us the significant change has been the internal as well as the external. On the internal side, to see One Health as something that is necessary as a foundation for agri-food systems, for the way that we produce our food, keep our animals, and live in those environments. So it's a priority program, one of the 20 in the organization, cross-cutting and supporting the whole organization's work. The political shift is significant, and our history of our 4 organizations to some extent mirrors 4 different ministries: agriculture, veterinary services, environment, and human health. And you will not achieve progress in just by one ministry. So now it's the sense that interministerially we need to work together, not just at our level, but also at the level of the countries. Professional shifts are going to be significant. We've been doing things in our own technical disciplines. Now we realize we have to work together. The policy shifts at country level to ensure that policies are One Health oriented or mainstreamed. That's work that we have to do. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Keith. And that's an excellent segue into the next question, actually, because we want to talk about the Quadripartite. You talked about political shifts. So there's really good news, excellent news, that UNEP is now part of the Quadripartite. Before that, it was the Tripartite Plus. And now you have become, Lisa, I'm especially talking into your direction. You have become now a formal member of the Quadripartite. You have signed a memorandum of agreement. I think it was in March. So this is excellent news. What does this mean for One Health, for scaling up One Health, for integrating One Health, and not the least, to bring on board the environmental sector that I think has been neglected for far too long? Lisa, I will start with you, and I will call out the others, otherwise we will forget.
Okay, thank you. Well, we are so pleased to have joined the Quadripartite, and like Inger said in her opening video, we stand ready to do our part to mobilize our assets and our partnerships to support a strengthened One Health approach. A couple of areas I'd like to highlight where we will be able to make some immediate contributions. We just launched a new Nature for Health multi-partner trust fund that was seeded with 50 million euros. to support countries in enhancing investments in nature as a means of preventing pandemics with the generous support of the German government. This fund aims to achieve 4 outcomes: to generate multidisciplinary evidence on the links between biodiversity, climate change, and health, to allow for better decision-making, to enhance One Health actions, preventive actions and policies that address those links, to provide target-specific capacity building and knowledge management, advocacy, and awareness-raising programs and initiatives on those links, and lastly, to create sustainable One Health collaboration and governance structures that facilitate preventive action and policy through the inclusion of biodiversity, climate change considerations into One Health. We have a long-standing relationship with our quadripartite partners to look at the environment dimensions of antimicrobial resistance. And in a short time, we will be launching our report that highlights gaps in our understanding. And so we hope to work with our partners through the quadripartite and also through others to collaborate together and fill those gaps. And these are just a few examples. I'll stop there.
Well, thank you, Lisa, for this very encouraging and optimistic statement. We're going to continue now with Jean-Philippe. OAE, please.
Yes. OAE believes that animal health is not only about domestic animals. We have also to consider wildlife. And since a long time, we had a reporting system to notify the animal diseases, in particular emerging diseases, coming from the wildlife source. Because sometimes, and very often, ecosystems, wildlife are the starting point for emerging threats. And we have to be vigilant starting at this level, at the starting point. And we believe that working together with the Quadripartite, expanded today to UNEP, will strengthen our capacity to consider wildlife, ecosystem, environment health, to better predict, anticipate, prepare, respond to emerging threats, in particular the one coming from wildlife. But in addition to the quadripartite cooperation, including UNEP, we wish also to develop a bilateral agreement with UNEP. And I can announce that this year, at the end of the month of May, we'll have the OIE General Assembly, which will endorse a MOU, a bilateral MOU with UNEP. And this will add capacities of partnership, of cooperation with UNEP, which is a key partner. Fortunately, we started to work with them since a long time. We have also important projects in the field. I can mention the Ebo sur Sea project in Central Africa to detect and to better know the drivers for Ebola fever transmission. And our ambition is that the veterinary services gain more capacity to interact with environment services. And this kind of project will help to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean-Philippe. And now we move to Keith, please, FAO.
Thank you. Well, in the areas that FAO and UNEP have been working for years, there's a few things which are really important to bring out. And one is that healthy soils and available and safe water is the fundamental of nearly all of our food production systems. And that soil as well as water is affected by agriculture, what we do. It's also affected by human activities. And in that area, there is sometimes tension, but there is a need there to find a way forward. Soil and water are essential, as we've said, and we must consider as soil health as one part. because of the way that, that livestock, human activities and so on affect it. There are many new opportunities coming out of this new relationship. One, for example, is the greater environmental ministry input into surveillance and monitoring for pathogens in the environment, for antimicrobial resistance, and also for those areas of safety. But the other thing is ecosystem restoration. Ecosystem restoration is central and biodiversity maintenance is central to health of the planet. This is an area where we already work but need to do more together. There are hundreds of millions of people around the world who depend for their livelihoods upon forests. They need to care for those forests by maintaining their livelihoods, which means, for example, sustainable wildlife management in those settings. So finding a way forward, optimizing the outcomes that protects both the environment and health is essential, and that's one of the things we hope to do together with UNEP in the Quadripartite.
Well, thank you very much, Keith. And Peter, the WHO statement on the Quadripartite, please.
Thank you, and again, welcome to UNEP, to the Quadripartite collaboration. For us, it was a very natural addition, and in fact, the past couple of years, we've already integrated UNEP in our daily collaboration. So the formalization of the collaboration was a natural thing to do. And in terms of the importance of having UNEP on board for some of the difficult issues we're going to tackle in the coming years are extremely important. The pandemic and prevention of future pandemic is a critical one where we have to get much better collaboration also on the ground at national level with the environmental sector. We have to better understand these famous hotspot zones where more of these new diseases are emerging, better understand how can we manage these areas? Can we continue to have completely uncontrolled trade of live animals from this region? Can we continue to allow completely free access and uncontrolled access of humans in some of these areas? Or how can we better balance the management of these zones from an environmental point of view, but also human health and animal health point of view? How can we better also plan where we are growing food, where we are raising animals for food in certain environmental zone, and of course, much better understanding and integrating the surveillance of what's happening in the environment in terms of circulation of pathogens, ecological niche for certain pathogens in certain environmental zone is critical for our future and our and there again having UNEP on board will be critical at the international level, but that will of course be reflected at the national level with also better integration of these different sectors together. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, for this very clear statement on the integration of the environment. Our next round, our third round now, will be on the One Health Joint Plan of Action, which is really the first milestone of the Quadripartite. I mean, it's an excellent document. It's still not officially formalized, or it's not finalized, but it has been online. It's fully written up. It's a great read. I can only recommend, please go online and download. It's neat, it's clear, it's to the point, and it's about implementation and driving activities forward. So also for those people here in the room who have been part of that action plan, a huge congratulations really also from my side. Now, what can such a joint plan of action, I need to get it right here, mean for us, for the One Health community? What does it mean to scale up One Health, and what does it mean, not the least, for people on the ground, for the countries? And this time, please, we start with Keith, FAO.
Thank you very much, and I thank you for those nice words about the Joint Plan of Action. The Joint Plan of Action is really a comprehensive approach by which the four organizations will work together to be able to deliver better. Not only delivering by themselves, because there's a limit to our technical areas where we're present, but very much catalyzing change at the country level, as you've said. Huge investments are expected and needed in the side of One Health for pandemic prevention and response, but for the other reasons that we've said at the start. Now, the 4 organizations together, beyond advocacy, provide the technical background to be able to support country efforts, but they're also needed to be able to bring together and mainstream One Health into the other areas where there are investments at country level, in agri-food systems, for example, in health capacities, and in the side of ecosystems and that side. There are 6 priority action tracks identified within the Global Plan of Action. They include the capacities to work together better at the country level, how we would achieve that, catalyzing country change, reducing the risks of emerging and re-emerging zoonotic epidemics. I think everybody recognizes the importance of that, but not leaving behind the neglected tropical zoonotic and vector-borne diseases, which make up the majority of disease burden in many cases. Food safety itself, the better assessment and the involvement of One Health to be able to deliver safer food is important. And at the same time, taking a multi-sectoral approach to AMR is one significant part of it. And finally, and certainly not least, mainstreaming the environment into One Health is part of the action plan. Delivering that together will be complex, but it will not be delivered only by the 4 organizations. It's the UN system coming together at country level to influence sustainable development goals at country level, support them, and to integrate One Health into those country plans. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Keith, for those very clear and also encouraging words on the One Health Joint Plan of Action. We move to WHO. Peter, if you would like to give your statement, please.
Thank you. Now that we have this framework, this joint action plan for how we want to collaborate on One Health issues, the next step will be, of course, to design the way to implement and transfer this high-level plan into actions at country level. And that's where we will have to collaborate with external partners, with the country themselves, of course, and regions, because this plan will have to be tailored for different regions, for different environments, different countries, different situations. And the big hope we have is that coming as 4, working with countries, with also stimulate countries collaborating with us as one government instead of the old way of doing business where we have each have had privileged relationships and collaboration with a certain sector, certain ministries. And the idea is really to build these national action plans, basically reflecting what is done here at the international level. And once countries will have multi-year master plans, so to speak, it will also be much clearer how and when and where the technical assistance, the technical support, the national collaboration should be, and how it should happen in a sequential way. So we're very hopeful that this will help us make really changes at country level in the coming years. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, for those, again, clear words, also for the outlook, which I couldn't agree more. It's really great to have this outlook. Then we're now going to move to OIE, please, Jean-Philippe, and then to Lisa, UNEP.
Yes, my colleagues mentioned that the Joint Plan of Action for One Health includes 6 action tracks. And one of them has a lot of attention from the OIE. This is the first one, action track 1, regarding strengthening the capacity of the members to implement One Health. It regards capacity building, which is very important. But to identify the needs of our members, we need to know the starting point. We need to know their capacity to implement the international health regulation from WHO, the international standards from OIE, and so on. And for this, we have already some tools. Within OIE, we have the Performance Veterinary Services tool, which is a voluntary audit which can be performed to evaluate the capacity of our members, and which will help to fill the gaps, to identify the gaps, and to fill them together with our partners through the National Action Plan, the multi-year National Action Plan that Peter just mentioned. We have to build joint One Health workforces with the veterinary services part of these workforces. And we have to support our members, not only through capacity building activity, but for encouraging networking, for example, between the different health workforces. I believe that it would be very interesting to build a One Health global community and to keep these people connected after the capacity building training activities. Capacity building is a strong pillar for us of this new joint plan of action for One Health. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean-Philippe, and over to you, Lisa.
Yeah, well, the action tracks do present quite a lot to do, and clearly additional resources will be needed, without doubt. More specifically, resources to support collaboration across the sectors. The One Health multi-sectoral approach has great potential to produce better and more sustainable outcomes, but it's not always easy to collaborate. And so we need to think differently, and we need to act differently. And financing for health is very siloed too, and we'll need clear incentives to work across those different sectors in order to find the common solutions. And secondly, we can't just think about financing, we also need to think about the financial flows. We need to look at the investments that are being made already in the name of development, but that drive up health risks of all kinds, whether it's infrastructure or extractive industries or food systems. Harmful polluting subsidies that undermine human, animal, and environment health need to be repurposed if we're going to have more sustainable and healthy outcomes.
Lisa, yeah, thank you very much. And of course, that is enormously important, also the financial flows that you just stated here and the repurposing. I think this is a lot of food for thought indeed. We are now, unfortunately, already coming to our last round, but you have been so great with timekeeping. You have portrayed over the last half an hour that One Health principles like equity, holism, interdisciplinarity, cross-sectorality, integration, breaking down silos, working together is just so important, and it needs to form the basis, I think, of One Health collaboration, communication, cooperation, capacity building at the global level, but also at the country level, and it needs to be co-designed with neglected populations and co-advanced. And of course, again, Lisa, we need to really think about how all of this can be financed, and definitely there needs to be some repurposing. I would now like to invite you to our final round. If you just give us the 1 or 2 take-home messages, please don't take up more than 1 minute, and then we're still excellent with time. So your take-home 1 message or your 2 take-home messages for our audience, and we would like to start with UNEP, OIE, WHO, FAO. But Lisa, please get started
first. Okay. Well, I think what we all need to remember is that in order to succeed, it needs to be a whole of society approach. We're all in this together, and we need to listen to each other, and we need to engage. We all need to engage. We're definitely stronger together. Thank you.
Excellent.
30 seconds.
That was good. I think we could even have a second round. That's excellent. OIE, please, Jean-Philippe.
For me, the most important is to move from principles to implementation. If we are going to move the same than before, it is not enough. And I like to hear Dr. Tedros from WHO to mention that One Health will be a guiding principle of the future pandemic treaty or international instrument. And we have also principles within OIE, and I would like to end with 3 principles. The first one is international cooperation. The second one is international cooperation. And the third one is international cooperation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jean-Philippe. And then we move to Peter WHO, please.
Thank you, and I will also be quick and short. I think to me, one clear change that needs to happen to really make a difference in the long run is that we have to start breaking the silos already when we are getting educated. There are a lot of students here in the room today, a lot of teachers, and I will urge you already at your own level to break those silos. If you are a medical student, sometimes try to go and figure out what the vet students are doing. Go and have parties with them. Sometimes in many countries, they're very, very nice ones. And the like also in the curriculum of our universities, we need to mix and integrate different sectors in what we teach our students. We can't continue to have these silos already formed during our educational years. It has to be broken there, so it can continue with close collaboration and more collaboration and interest for the other sectors later on when we populate national agencies, ministries, etc., where One Health is going to be put in practice. Thank you.
Peter, I'm so happy that you brought up the training and the teaching from the academic perspective, because after all, this is a scientific meeting, and I'm very happy that this was mentioned. We are so good with timekeeping, I think I can even allow another round, but before that, we are going to hear from Keith in terms of your take-home message, please.
Thank you. I think the first thing is to realize that we can't do things very well and long-term by ourselves. We have to do them in cooperation, collaboration across sectors. So I think that the long-term, it starts with us, realizing that short-term gain of looking for research funding or for funding for one agency or one ministry, this isn't the way forward. The way forward is to find the solutions that everyone will gain from. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot. And we, as I said, you have been fantastic. We've actually got 3 minutes left, and I don't want to let those 3 minutes go with those eminent guests. It's a science meeting. It's an academic meeting, more or less, of course, together with implementers, also together with the private sector that we have not really mentioned. Your very short take-home message for the academics and for the scientists. Sorry, that was not planned, but I'm sure you have got some thoughts. What is a crucial step in academia? And we produce the evidence, after all, that should be acted upon, please, to implement the One Health concept in our very hierarchical and siloed institutions. And please, we start with Keith, but just go according to the physical order. Keith, what should we do?
Thank you. I think the key thing we're looking at the moment is how do we get the best gain out of One Health that we possibly can, that will be the most cost-effective but also the most long-term. So we're looking very much to research to help us with how we can optimize the application of One Health. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And a very short statement from Jean-Philippe.
Yes, science and evidence-based systems are instrumental to understand what happens. What are the emerging threats that we face? And for this reason, we set up together the One Health high-level expert panel with 26 of the best world experts regarding One Health coming from different sectors. So I strongly believe that we have to rely on them. Not only them, we are discussing additional science systems for One Health through, for example, knowledge and evidence network to complement the One Health high-level panel. But again, our decisions in terms of risk management must be based on a science-based risk evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean-Philippe, and I'm so happy you mentioned the One Health high-level expert panel, because we should not leave the scene without mentioning them. It's a great advisory group. It's a network of very eminent scientists, and I'm sure they will play a role within the new Quadripartite. Lisa and then Peter, very short last statements.
Oh, thank you. I have to circle back to this whole of society idea that for me, One Health is it's not only multi-sectoral, but it's also transdisciplinary. So yes, we are academics and we spend our lives studying and researching, but we cannot forget to give a seat at the very beginning at the table to the decision makers, to the governments, but not only them, also the communities.
Yes.
Because you know, when we talk to the communities, then we discuss the problems, and oftentimes they have solutions that we would never have thought of when we were sitting at our desk in our university. So we need to get out there, talk together, sit around the table, go places, and I think it has to be transdisciplinary, involving communities.
Absolutely, Lisa. Transdisciplinary starts with the communities, and that's the only definition. Peter, you have the final words.
Very quickly, thank you. I think research has also to take a One Health approach in many ways. We have to see more research across disciplines. I know it's much more difficult in many ways, both for getting funding, but also designing studies and so on. But it's critical. We can't continue to also have silos within the research community. So we are looking for that, and the One Health agenda should be a guiding lights, so to speak, for identifying where research in the future should be focusing on. Thank you.
It's a very nice term. It's a guiding light to close with this. So thanks a lot to your great proliferation, suggestions, to your positive outlook, all the very best. And I hand over to our journalist for closing this session officially. Thank you very much, and a warm thank you to the audience.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for moderating this very first session. Magnificent job. Thank you, our speakers, for taking the time to share your insights. Now, for those of you watching us at home, feel free to grab a cup of coffee or tea, because we're heading for a short break. Those of you in person, come with me outside those doors to enjoy a bit of the Innovation Fair with a cappuccino in hand.